warm welcome everyone to this very special episode with Hitachi and GlobalLogic. Today, I, Amita Vatva, along with my esteemed guests, will delve into the details of India's digital transformation, the need to introduce sustainable practices into it, and the challenges and strategies for its smooth implementation. Over the past few years, the importance of the information technology sector has been felt across the globe to drive economic growth. And this story is not very different in India, where there are strides being made in digital transformation that have also opened up new avenues for the growth of its economy. But this expansion of technology across sectors also brings with it new environmental problems such as carbon emissions, excessive energy use, and electrical trash. Now, realizing the importance of sustainable practices, India is now embracing green information technology as a disruptive force in environmental sustainability. According to Forbes, India's 2030 trajectory depends on technology and sustainability driven by resilience and innovation, for which the country, with the support of the government through various initiatives and programs, is already taking the necessary steps. Now, amongst them is the introduction and adoption of a circular economy. To understand this phenomenon better and build a sustainable future together, I have with me two very distinguished leaders from the industry who have steered an effectual path of sustainability across business proficiencies. Please allow me to welcome Mr. Bharat Kaushal, MD-Hitachi India. Sir, thank you very much for taking out your time. And we also have Mr. Piyush Jha, MD-APAC GlobalLogic. Sir, thank you very much to you as well. Now, before we delve into the discussion, I would like to share with our audience the colossal wisdom both of these leaders possess with a deep yet varied array of understanding of dynamic business ecosystem. So, Mr. Bharat, sir, let's start with you. Could you briefly take us through how rewarding and challenging your journey has been to becoming the first Indian MD of Hitachi in India, sir?
Well, it's been an honor and a privilege. I did investment banking where you're facilitating other people's business. Joining a big company like Hitachi, which has a huge presence and a long presence in India, has been a very new reinvention, has been a reinvention of sorts for me. And Hitachi's cultural ethos has always been to partner social innovation and social transformation, especially in today's times of change. Hitachi, using its prowess of green and digital and innovation, brings about not just economic value, but also environmental value and social value to the front.
Right. Piyush, same question to you, because your journey has also been quite unique one as well. Could you take us through some of your important milestones up till now?
Sure. I was almost a fresher right out of IIT Delhi when I joined GlobalLogic. We're just starting up then, a company of 8-10 people. And from then on till now, it has been a joyride. 21 years, I complete 21 years in GlobalLogic today. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And the entire journey has been full of innovation, full of geekiness, full of people disrupting technological changes. And the GlobalLogic ethos of putting technology first, putting innovation first, and people first has been something that has been exhilarating, to say the least. We have always led with people and technology. In my opinion, we steer startup at heart. You know, if I look at GlobalLogic today, even today, our genetic makeup is that of a startup. You know, we love people bringing new ideas to the fore. We love people participating in hackathons, disrupting stuff, and making new things. And I think that is what is carrying GlobalLogic forward today.
I think that is also makes GlobalLogic a leader when it comes to digital engineering space, if we can say that. Mr. Bharat, sir, could you also share the key businesses that are driving growth, and how do you foresee the partnership between Hitachi and India gaining momentum and cementing the ties further, sir?
Yes, sure. I think Hitachi's longest overseas presence has been India, which is nearly 90 years, and post-independence, the first locomotive for railway, the turbines of Bhakra Nangal Dam, all came from Hitachi, and they still work. But we are about 30 companies now across infrastructure and manufacturing as well as digital. And just to pick up one or two of them, we are the biggest rail company in the world now. But more importantly, India has become a global hub for rail business. Within India, the modernization of the very exhaustive Indian railway network, where nearly 45% of electronic interlocking, safety introduction, the metro and urban mobility, revolution that has come into India, whether it's Mumbai or Chennai, some lines in Delhi, Noida, Navi Mumbai have a lot of Hitachi system. Somewhere rolling stock, somewhere train control.
Piyush, tell us about, little about GlobalLogic in the same context. If you can tell us, especially when it comes to being a leader for APAC, and how do you envision APAC's growth and the opportunities that it will bring about in the coming future? How is GlobalLogic now preparing to stay right ahead of the curve?
I think GlobalLogic is a de facto leader in outsourced product development, software product development. You would not see us doing a large 500 people mainframe program for a bank. We invest ourselves in making products for other companies. So if you look at insulin pumps getting created, if you look at ear implants being generated, or very cool new apps that a lot of our partners are using today, that is where GlobalLogic comes to play. We have close to 30,000 people in 23 different countries, and in India we go across the length of the country to find wherever we find the best talent and use that for the development of technology.
But when it comes to just Hitachi and how they've been able to the same and the acquisition of GlobalLogic expedited the sustainability goals of the company, if you can delve a little more on that.
Yes, I think while the world has had these two major debates, one of development with data and the other is the privacy question. Similarly with sustainability, does sustainability slow down development or does sustainability come into the mainstream? There are challenges that all of us face. First of all, the standards are yet to be defined on what is really sustainability across different sectors. And being a big power grid company or a big rail company, the onus is always on energy and mobility as key drivers.
True.
And then there is the incentive structure, because there is a transition challenge in countries which are rich. There are breakthrough technologies. There are also development and capacities of foundational technologies. So when you look at the value chain, the design people sometimes invest more, or the process people have a bigger obligation, but the incentives are usually for the outcome. So in countries like India, where resources are also to be found from a scramble, it is very important to build competitive solutions. And therefore, the point that you made earlier, circular economy takes big center stage. Yeah. So anything and everything that you do, first of all, within you, and also with the big partner ecosystem around you, has to be in that consonance. I mean, when you look at Europe today, they already want that 75% of your vendors and 75% of your customers should also be accepting a sustainable transition. So it is very difficult in India when you do business and build competitive solutions from India to the world to be sort of taking that responsibility. And yet it is happening at the same time because capacities are getting built in India. So we are all learning together, but you can only learn when your partner ecosystem is stronger. And it doesn't mean only industry, but also with the policymakers, with the academia, and with innovators.
Correct. So do you want to add to that, Piyush? Because do you need a clear definition exactly when it comes to sustainability, and you need to work together with all of the factors?
Yeah, I think we have pondered on that definition for quite a while. I would want to address that in three different facets. On what do we do around sustainability? How do we do what we do? Meaning to say the code that we write, how does that become more sustainable? And what do we leave behind for the world? I think within GlobalLogic, we have started our offices dry of all single-use plastic. We have tried to go as green as possible in the offices. Noida and Ghaziabad, for example, are leaders in a lot of aspects, but they're also leaders in pollution. We are at this point working to plant mini jungles in Noida and Ghaziabad. There are already 45,000 trees strong, which will possibly make the air slightly cleaner.
This is a campaign that you run.
This is a campaign that we're running, and we are planting these mini jungles in the Rapuram and in Noida. So that is what we do. In terms of how we do, we are coming up with the code that we write, the applications that you use, contain a lot, burn a lot of water, burn a lot of energy. How can we write code that is more energy efficient? How can we write code that is better from the perspective of that is kinder to the planet? So we have accelerators like Code Greenify, which will take a legacy code and spit out stuff around what do you do with the code to make it greener. So, and we are consulting a lot of our customers on how to use greener code. Now, of course, there's a chasm to be dealt because greener code is costlier at this point to write. But we are moving towards that.
Bharatji, especially when we talk about India's IT sector to integrate such green digital solutions into its operations, what are some common challenges that you have seen in businesses, especially when it comes to in the same regard, sir?
You see, first of all, in the India story, unlike rest of the world, Society 5.0 in rest of the world got unleashed because industry had come to 4.0. In India, industry has existed at 1.0, 2.0, all simultaneously, and 4.0. But society, thanks to the success of Digital India, has become empowered and entitled. So there is one level where you feel here. When you go down to manufacturing, when you go down to capital goods industry, which are heavy duty, that transition management, I mean, first of all, your source of power, we've already achieved a 2024 end target of more than 50% coming from renewable sources. So we have our own solar places, but you know, in places where we can't, we just give it to the grid, and government incentivizes, you know, group captive kind of solar availability anywhere. But more importantly, this whole transition management was inherent in Japanese ethos to be just in time and total quality management and not storing unnecessary stuff.
Piyush, next question to you, sir, because how do you see when it comes to India faring in the global arena when it comes to adoption of sustainability in business operations? What can we learn from the global use cases and vice versa?
I think to an extent, some of this is a problem that technology has created. You know, we have gone out with solutions that are more easier to use, that are better for people, but that have not been good for the planet in the long run. I think with technologies like generative AI, you know, we are suddenly coming to an arena where technology might be the solution to a lot of these problems. You know, we might be able to bring in a lot of automation, bringing a lot of intelligence. You know, for example, if you decongest traffic on the roads, that suddenly saves a lot of energy for everybody, because you know, people will get to work or home faster, use less fuel.
How can technology help in that?
Because we'll predictably be able to tell you what the traffic situations are, reroute traffic as needed, and you know, create pathways that are more effective to the whole congestion problem. Similarly, if you make like I said earlier, if you make the code that runs behind and uses a lot of firepower cleaner and greener, you know, if you use less energy in the technology arena, that suddenly makes it much more efficient to be using the same set of technologies to have the same ease of life, but at a much higher value to the planet itself. And I think the innovation drive that we see in India, the kind of generative AI solutions that you're building out in India, and the kind of mindset that Indians have to be able to do more with less, that will start to yield a lot of value to the world. Because
I think that's the mindset we all come with.
Very quick learners. I mean, just to add, I mean, yes, this is going to be a work in progress for the next decade. Yeah. It is true. But you have to learn that Europe has been a champion on sustainability far too long, and Germany is going back to coal, and that Switzerland is saying we don't want electric vehicles charging because one home in heating consumes maybe 40 kV, but a fast charging is 135 kV. So there is a balance that is being brought from those learnings that in India we were never so surplus. Yeah. So we had to find merit out of that limitation. And that's why those tricks have become actually the smart strategy
they've been put
that people want to know from us. As I said, I mean, that follow a country to lead a country is a huge transition that we are going through, and we are witnessing as partners of not just government but also society.
Yeah, I think a few years ago, most of the products that we were building were products that were designed outside of India, and they were fit to the Indian ecosystem. They were not built for India. Today we are building products that are built for India, and once we experiment that with a large base of people that we have, and we fine-tune and tweak that, we roll out those products for the world. So essentially, we are building products in India, designed for Indians, and then tweaked out for the world. That is happening for the first time.
And the amount of, or the extent to which the change happens. I mean, when Make in India first came, people thought that employment problem will get sorted. And that was India growing in its volume and consumption, both for assisted intelligence or augmented intelligence. Now with autonomous intelligence tools, when you create platforms for defense, when you create space technology, what it does on industrial packaging or food processing or any of those allied industry, because you've raised the platform level of industrial application, it just creates a new competitiveness. And this game is about competitiveness.
Correct.
I mean, not just about economic competitiveness, but also environmental competitiveness, social competitiveness.
I think talking about competitiveness, we'll talk about also the hackathon, because it was recently held, GlobalLogic and Hitachi India, that came together. Please shed some light, especially when it comes to its objective.
I think GlobalLogic has been doing hackathons for, maybe a decade or so. 30X is a brand name that we have used across the industry, and we first started doing it in-house, then we started doing it for our partners, and then started broad-basing that brand. This is the first time that we did this hackathon along with Hitachi. Much broader canvas. Within a few days of announcing it, we had thousands of registrations coming in of people who wanted to do it. Eventually, 75 teams were shortlisted, and 30 teams participated in the final round. 30 hours of non-stop coding. The kind of POCs, proof of concepts, or innovation nuggets, or disrupting technological gadgets a hackathon brings out is unparalleled to anything else that happens. People code out in 30 hours products that they would possibly build in like 2 months' time. Because the adrenaline and the energy is so high in the room, the collaboration and confidence is so high that creative juices are at their best. And which country other than India to be the base of such innovation? Absolutely. So I think the experience was awesome. We would keep doing more and more of it. And the innovation value that we have driven out of it, we possibly will keep using it for the next few years.
Right, sir. And hackathon, Hitachi India participating in such a hackathon?
It was... we all knew about Hackathon and the success that GlobalLogic has had over the past decade and more, and doing 15, 16 different hackathons. But seeing it live and the energy that Piyush talked about is, warrants a new level of understanding, appreciation. It's not just keeping the IPRs out of, these things. The theme was also sustainability and green, how people work around it with our real life problems very quickly and come out with some solution on the technology side. I mean, before this hackathon happened, quite frankly, given my limitations of understanding, sometimes I would just memorize Piyush's phone number and tell him, take over. But here I am, seeing this energy and seeing the resource that it has built, that if we did more of this, embracing with open arms all levels of change, that's when we'll really come up with solutions which can, give us a new reputation and image and an identity of being not just forward-looking, but being truly social in our solution.
And that would cater to everyone's needs as well. Before we conclude, both of you, how do you see Indian IT industry evolving in the next 5 years, Piyush?
I think a lot of people have already said that this is India's decade. Some people have said this is India's century. That may as well be true. But I think the best thing that would come out of it would be that India would emerge as a world leader using the technology that it uses to build products for itself. For a long time, we have needed products built first for Indians and then generalized for the whole world rather than built for the world and generalized for India. It will also help us economically leapfrog the world to a certain extent because it will not be just technology that we produce for the world. It will be different kinds of products, embedded products. 5G is something that the entire government sector is betting upon because that is something that will give rise to a brand new system of products. So I think it will help India get ahead, not just in terms of technology, but economy and people. And like we have talked about, in sustainability in general.
Right. And Bharat sir, how can India actually harness the true potential of circular economy, and what must be done, especially when it comes to the Indian businesses, to promote the same?
Well, we are going through a very big transformation. I think realization is not just at the top of the industry or the government, but through the whole value chain. People are realizing that it's not just top line management or bottom line management, but it's an equilibrium that you have to find where that's where the margins are. You know, there are pressures in other alternate economies when interest rates have gone up. Indians have been used to servicing at higher interest rate. Finding that you are still growing at either a double-digit growth or a high single-digit growth in industries where margins are not there, they know that there is a timeline within which they have to change the game and respond. The only way is to bring efficacy of cost, of product viability. When shelf life redundancy is getting shorter and shorter, it's very important to position yourself into the future when you build any capacity. That's what you're seeing as a big change. And people want help. And companies from Japan are used to those partner ecosystems in a very, very formidable way for the longest time. So they understand that if we build that, then our job is getting sorted too. So I'm seeing that traction like never before. I worked 27 years in Japanese companies. I've not seen this kind of traction, as one is noting now. That consciousness is not driven by regulation. That consciousness is driven by a business need, but also an identity need, and which is in consonance with where the government wants to also build policies around.
Absolutely, because we talk about as far as Indian businesses, to promote the same, but while India that continues to set an example through its fast-paced digital transformation, integrating sustainability and green innovation across sectors, that continues to be both daunting and of utmost importance. It is now clear that the need of the hour is not just app solutions, which we do not have a dearth of, but we also need to encourage when it comes to the development of an ecosystem that serves that very purpose. And that brings us to the end of this session and this very insightful conversation. Thank you very much, Bharat sir, Piyush. Thank you very much for joining us here on the studio and taking out your time and sharing your insights and knowledge with us. Thank you very much to you audience as well for joining in.